Neymar to Al-Hilal.
Really? But it's facts?
Maybe you misunderstood me.
So it's facts.
And at 31 years of age, Neymar will be leaving PSG and going to Saudi Arabia to play for Al-Hilal. Think about this. Messi goes to the MLS, but he's 35, 36 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo goes to Saudi Arabia. He's 37, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
Neymar's 31, man.
Yeah.
31 years old. And the only other examples we've seen of players going to Saudi Arabia that are like around that age are like Riyad Mahrez, 32, Ruben Neves, 28, but still they weren't ever considered like top 3 players in the world.
A superstar.
Yeah, Neymar's a superstar, man. At 31 years old to go to Saudi Arabia, is he ruining his career by doing this?
He could have played the next 3 years in Europe, ramping up for the 2026 World Cup with Brazil, have a crazy tournament there, and then after that summer, then go to the MLS or Saudi Arabia at the age of 35.
Right, he could do it later,
He could do it later, literally the same age as Messi/Ronaldo, all while still having the chance to continue a career in Europe and play at a World Cup right after that. So this is crazy that he's doing it now, because now he's going to have 3 years outside of Europe trying to ramp up to a World Cup where he needs to be the captain and best player for Brazil.
Well, here's the thing. I looked into it. The deal that's being offered to him is a 2-year deal, right? And he's so quote-unquote young in this sense that he could go play for 2 years and then at 33, 34, go back to Europe. But even then, man, I see no true reason outside of money. I think it's being offered, I believe my sources say, 160 million euros for 2 years.
Looking at the climate of football economics in Europe right now, I guess this also makes sense in that regard.
For sure.
It really does.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing that because I feel like we've been pretty positive about what Saudi Arabia's been doing. This does feel like, man, they're taking one of our own here.
Well, I wouldn't even want Neymar to go to the MLS. Like, I don't want that. The reason why I wanted Messi to go to the MLS, because I knew he was done with Europe. And rightfully so, because he's already 35. He just won the World Cup. And he's already won Champions Leagues. He's won everything in Europe. So why not be like, all right, well, let me now ply my trade elsewhere. So if I had the choice between Saudi Arabia and the MLS, obviously I'm going MLS for Messi. But Neymar, I think, still has a career to play out in Europe. I still thought he had more narrative, more plot development with his own career to see out. So I don't want him to come to the MLS right now. I actually don't want that at all. For Neymar's case, I'd rather he go back to Barcelona.
Yep.
The exact opposite that I wanted for Messi. I don't want him to go to Saudi Arabia either, man. I want him to stay in Europe. So, this news is, honestly, I just don't like it. This is sour to me.
Yeah, it's sour, but it kind of does feel in a way like we've kind of been leading to this because ultimately, bro, I think PSG was a failure. Yeah. For what it was meant to be for Neymar as being the lone horse now, a man by himself. I remember that he left Barcelona so he could be the main focal point of a strong team in the Champions League and in Europe. And he got to that Champions League final, ultimately lost it. Sometimes that's how it goes in finals. It's all right. But overall, he's been riddled with injuries. He has seen some really early knockout stage exits in the Champions League. And yes, he's won his titles domestically, but overall, it just leaves me wondering, like, what if he had just stuck it out at Barcelona? Or what if he had chosen a different club to go to? PSG was, at the end of the day, a strange choice. And now we're seeing it be capped off by a decision to go to Al-Hilal in Saudi Arabia. And it just sucks because his trajectory is one of the most insane trajectories we've ever seen in this goddamn sport. At 16, 17 years old, going toe-to-toe against Ronaldinho in Brazil with Santos FC, playing out of his goddamn mind like no other player we've ever seen before, and translating that over to Europe and Barcelona, doing the same goddamn thing alongside Messi and Luis Suarez, winning a Champions League as well, and then going to PSG, and we see what happens. We see how it unfolds. It hurts, bro. It hurts to see this. That's where I'm at. I'm more on the emotional side. Like, damn, this is how this kind of ends, man. Hopefully he can still come and join the MLS at one point. Maybe he can go back to Barca, but the fact that this is even being considered an option for him, I think says a lot about his current state mentally and I guess professionally as well. Now, let me say this. If you're an Al-Hilal fan, you just saw your team lose the Arab Club Champions Cup. I had to read that off because how are you going to remember that? Arab Club Champions Cup. You see yourself lose it to Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, in the final 2-1, and you're hurt by this loss. You know, you're really feeling this. You're in your bedroom. You just saw the result. You're like, damn it. I'm used to dominating here. I'm used to seeing our team dominate Champions Leagues. I wonder if we're going to get any reinforcements. And my boy Neymar comes knocking at the door like I have arrived. Dude, Al-Hilal is going to dominate Saudi Arabia now if Neymar joins. That's what I'm getting at. Even just in the, I'm thinking Saudi Arabian context, they're set for more Champions League glory as well as domestic. They have to be the favorites now.
Is Neymar going to go to Saudi Arabia with like, all right, every single second I'm going to go at these Saudi defenses? Or is it going to be like 30 minutes, I'm going to go hard, and then the other 60 minutes I'm on the pitch, I'm just going to, pass it around, fuck around a little bit, have some fun. Because we've seen players go to Saudi Arabia and do that.
Bro, he's doing the second option.
Yeah, I think so. And especially Neymar. I think it's not even like it's not even a diss towards him. It's just who he is. So, I don't think the impact is actually that crazy if he goes. Other than the fact that, yes, I still think he's going to add to it and dominate.
Well, he loves winning.
Yeah, he's going to dominate, bro. Yeah, I just think that if Al Nassr can actually be competitive the way that they showed in their last game, then I actually think it'll be tight between the two. Like, I wouldn't see Al-Hilal just getting like a 10, 15, 20-point lead over Al Nassr, even with the inclusion of Neymar, because of the way I think that Neymar approaches the game nowadays. It kind of goes to my next point, man. Neymar's career is Santos, Barcelona, and then PSG Al-Hilal. And I really want to highlight these last two. We already just talked about Al-Hilal, but when he left to PSG, it was in his prime, right?
Yeah.
He had just entered his prime, leaving Barcelona. So going to PSG was like, all right, we're going to see prime Neymar in France. And that's my point. Outside of like rookie, sophomore, European Neymar at Barcelona, the toughest league he's ever played in was France.
God.
And then he's going to Saudi Arabia to continue that trend.
Why does that bother me so much, man? It's like seeing Drake have a bad producer. He releases a few hits, and he's worth so much more, but he never gets that right song out, man.
Yeah. God. It's actually crazy because in a way, it parallels Pele's career. Because the people will say that, Pele, can he be the GOAT if he never played in Europe?
Yeah.
It's obviously a completely different time,
Yeah.
but it's like very similar. Or how like Bill Russell for the Boston Celtics won like 10 titles with them or whatever. But it was during a time when basketball was like just invented, essentially. You know what I mean?
So Neymar's like the modern version of that.
He's the modern version, is what I'm saying. Because, bro, like no Italian football, German Prem, nothing. And when he was at Barcelona, he was a rookie essentially. So he was going through the ranks, being taught by Suarez and Messi. And he was the third part of that team, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't the main guy. He was just also really fucking good. And then to go to PSG, that's what he wanted to do, to be the main guy. And he was, but it was against French opposition. And it never got more competitive than that.
You know what I wonder, man? I wonder what future Soltero would think about this. And not you, your son. Your kid. I wonder what that kid is going to think when he looks at Neymar's Wikipedia page and he sees what he did on paper. It goes to your point. It's not that impressive.
It isn't.
It's not. He's going to be like, Pops, you got like a Neymar jersey hung up with like a signature and everything. You're always throwing up the fucking wavy signals.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't get it. And he's going to have a hot ass take about Neymar was Brazilian Ruben Sambuesa. That's all he was. Right? He's good. And he did great in moments. But overall, what's there to show for it? I can see it now. And that does bother me because within the footballing landscape right now, but the context right now is Neymar could have been the third best player of all time, potentially top 2, if he had actually been able to commit to that work ethic and to being on good teams and being part of a really good, solid club. But instead, he made some weird career choices that derailed, in a way, his career overall.
Wow, yeah. This is crazy because you can almost split Neymar's entire career into two very, very different segments. And it's basically the moment he decided to leave Barcelona, I think Neymar's career completely changed. Mm-hmm. And also just the way he started to approach football. And not that his skill level changed, but I just think Neymar's career narrative completely shifted to what people thought he was going to be, right? Because I think, especially when he went to Barcelona, they're like, oh, he's the heir to Messi here. He's going to be at Barca for a very long time. He is the next Messi. But obviously that didn't pan out. And he went to PSG to try and win Champions League on his own. And we know the rest from there. But, dude, it was like a month ago because, it's summertime. And I went back to watch 2014 Brazil World Cup highlights.
No, you didn't.
I did.
What was your takeaway?
Young Neymar, one of the most fascinating stories, I think, in all of sports.
So you meant one of the best trajectories we've ever seen in the sport.
Ever.
Like 17 to 23?
22, 23?
Yeah. It's one of the greatest players we've ever seen, man.
Ever. That opening game against Croatia, I already obviously knew the result. Everybody knows the result. But I could feel the pressure through the screen, bro. I was like, oh, shit. Like,
you're getting a headache.
I was like, dude, we're in Brazil. The home where flair was invented.
Yeah.
And this is the first modern World Cup in South America. Everyone going here, the fans, the teams are like, oh, we're in Brazil. We got to show up. And then if you're Brazilian, bro, you got to go to the final. Yeah. You have to go to the final. And they start off the game with a Marcelo own goal. Crazy, man. You could see the camera pans to Marcelo and he's shocked. He's shook. He's shocked. He couldn't believe it.
I remember that, yeah.
He couldn't believe it. And it was actually a crazy bad omen, honestly, because Marcelo had a horrible game. Marcelo had a bad tournament, honestly. You go back and look at his performances and like, dude, Marcelo
didn't show up for it.
He didn't show up, bro. But you could say that about a lot of Brazilians in that tournament.
Wasn't there a questionable penalty in that match, bro?
Yeah, to take the lead against Croatia, there was a really cheap penalty. I'll never forget that. That one really pissed me off because I was actually going Croatia, classic Soltero shit. I was actually going Croatia in that game because I thought they were a better team in the moment. And honestly, they had a good 20, 30 minutes. But anyway, it was 1-0. And who the fuck shows up to equalize it?
Oh, it was Neymar.
Neymar.
It was like top of the box, right?
Top of the box. He finds just a little bit of space. Yeah. Just a little bit. Bottom corner.
Hits the
22-yard shot.
Crazy.
And what's crazy about that is he had to do it. The fans in that stadium, every Brazilian watching, went into this game thinking, all right, Neymar is our savior. He's the only player out here who can replicate the old Brazilian teams of 2002-98. The only other player out there that can replicate the stuff that Ronaldinho would do is Neymar, a very, very young Neymar who stayed in Brazil at Santos to make sure that he could get completely acclimated to the Brazilian atmosphere and get on the people's side. And he had one job, and that was to save Brazil in that tournament, and he did it. He actually did it, though. Yeah. That's what's crazy. At such a young age, he had the entire nation on his shoulders, and he's like, I got it.
Well, then, bro, is it fair to say that the injury he endured in that tournament could have been the catalyst for what ended up affecting his entire career? Because from that point forward, it's never the same, I guess.
That injury, I think, ruined in a I don't even know,
a weird way, bro. Not directly,
but in a weird way.
Like the gods up above were just like, "This is it, boys. We'll do him in. We'll do him in with this one." And they're just like, "All right, but over time, right, Lord?" And he's like, "We'll do it over time." Instead of right away, because he still has that quality, he still has that skill, but it's been happening just slightly in small moments that overall just adds up to what we're talking about, which is like a disappointing end to his fantastic start of a career.
It's pure frustration because, as I said before, there's no fault that I can actually put on Neymar himself. I think it's just crazy circumstances. It's life.
Yeah. And
it's just really unfortunate that he also had the talent to be one of the best players ever.
Yeah.
And so we got to see every movement, every move, every career decision, every touch of the ball of his entire life, and we just got to see it all play out. And I just think it's really unlucky because I think that injury, it obviously dictated a lot in that tournament, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, Neymar's career is insane, bro.
It's insane. There really is no parallel to it. I think at the end of the day, what he's gone through, even like beyond on the pitch, like as a persona, he's also so massive, so popular worldwide. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy that right now it culminates and you move to Al-Hilal and Saudi Arabia.